Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha. Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Kalaye Sundarakaram Sadaika Priyadarshanam. Ajnana Nashakam Devam Sadgurum Muralidharam. Yasya Smarana Matrena Jikhvayam Vardate Swayam. Mahamantrastam Bhajami Muralidhara Deshikam. प्रेमामृतं यो मुरलीनिनादैः श्रीकृष्णरूपेण पुराववर्ष अद्यापि सोऽयं मुरलीधराख्यो पुष्णाति प्रेम्णा भुवनं सहर्षं संकीर्तिते महामन्त्रे तत्राविर्भूय तत्क्षणं सुप्रसन्नो भवेद्यस्थं प्रेमिकवरदं भजे मुरलीमण्डितकरकमलं मुनिजनमोहनं व्यत्यस्तपादं वनमालाधारिणं प्रेमभक्तमण्डलनित्यकीर्तितं प्रेमिकवरदम् आश्रयेऽहम् नाम संकीर्तनं यस्य सर्वपापप्रणाशनं प्रणामो दुःखशमनः तं नमामि हरिं परम् हरे राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय. Greetings friends, Namaste. I begin by offering my prostrations at the holy feet of Sri Swamiji, by whose boundless grace I've been blessed with this lovely satsang. And my thank you to every one of you for joining in. We will take up this question that a friend from Chennai has sent us. This is how it goes. Great importance is given to doing kainkaryam, meaning seva to God, to Guru. What is the ideal characteristic of kainkaryam? Meaning, what is the ideal characteristic that a person who does service to God or Guru needs to possess? I'm reminded of this very beautiful incident that happened a few years ago in the holy presence of Sri Swamiji. I think that would address this question in a most apt manner than any amount of pointers and discussions that I can think of. As they say, a picture speaks 1,000 words, a very similar situation here. Sri Swamiji had traveled to this particular village in the southern part of Tamil Nadu. As it usually happens when Sri Swamiji visits a particular place for satsangs, he would usually visit a nearby temple or kshetra. Many devotees and friends would invite Sri Swamiji to bless their abode, their place, the place where satsang happens. All of this would usually happen whenever Sri Swamiji travels. In that particular village, which is also home to a very important holy ancient shrine, Sri Swamiji, very early in the morning, even before sunrise, when it was still dark, set out to visit that shrine. You would think that it's very early in the morning, but then there were already at least 100 satsang friends, devotees who had gathered there. They all followed Sri Swamiji as he headed towards that shrine. It was pitch dark, a few birds chirping here and there, the cool breeze of the morning. Sri Swamiji was walking, and it was such a pleasant ambience to be in. It was so vibrant and so divine. Sri Swamiji was chanting Nama and everybody was chanting along, and gently the whole group was progressing towards the shrine. At some point, Sri Swamiji stopped right in the middle of the street. Everybody wondered why he stopped, because the shrine was still further ahead. He stopped and he was looking down on the ground very intently. The moment everybody saw Sri Swamiji looking down, everybody wanted to know what was there. He stood there like he was admiring a painting with that expression. Everybody wanted to see. Much like, how it happens back when we were in school. When one person turns and looks at something, everybody automatically would turn in that direction. Something like that. There was a column that was drawn. To those of us who do not understand what a column is, it's this beautiful art that is drawn using rice powder. It's done as a mark of respect, as part of the worship, as a mark of respect to God. Also, tiny insects, ants can feed on them. In that sense, it is Annadanam as well. That's how everything is in Sanatana Dharma. There's many purposes that are achieved in one single act. Beautiful floral designs that are drawn. That particular column was not even that pretty or something that deserved so much of attention, if I have to be very plain to you. The manner in which Sri Swamiji was admiring it, it appeared as though it was the greatest column of all, but it really was a very normal, simple column. That's it. After a minute or so, Sri Swamiji wanted to know who had drawn that column. Who has drawn this? He looked around. Nobody showed their hands up to say that it was their work. People were asking around. There was a bit of noise in that crowd at that time. Then somebody told, pointing to an old lady who was standing there, "It's you, isn't it? You have only drawn this. Swamiji is only asking for you. Why don't you step forward and tell him that it's you?" Very reluctantly, she came forward. You could see fear in her eyes as she walked right in. Even before Swamiji could say something, she said, "I'm sorry if I've done something wrong. I know that this is not a very pretty column. In fact, I cannot draw very well. I see that devotees do great big things to serve God in the shrine. People make all kinds of offerings. People do all kinds of things in order to show their respect. I've always wondered what I can do on my part to show my devotion and respect to God. I really am incapable of doing anything great. When I think of anything that I can do, even I feel that it is ridiculously small considering how magnificent God is. I'm old. I can't run around, I can't do any physical seva. I thought I will do one thing. I will draw a small column, that too in front of my house, not even close to the shrine. I'm not very good at it. I'm trying, but I do it in order to show my respect to God. I know that this is not the greatest column. I know that there are people that can draw much better, bigger, complex, more beautiful columns than this. I know very well that God has nothing to gain from this. And it is I who benefits from this because it gives me a feeling that I have served him in some way or the other. It gives me that tiny sense of fulfillment. So I've been doing this every single morning before the sunrise for a long, long time. It's for my own spiritual uplift. I do not wish for anyone to know that it is me who has brought this. Sri Swamiji was smiling as he heard all of this. It might have escaped the notice of all of us. Nobody would have bothered to stand and take notice of that tiny little obscure column that was drawn, but it did not escape his glance, did it? The very purpose why she was doing it was fulfilled right there on that day, at that moment. Swamiji said, you say that you are not good at this, and you say it apologetically. But you know what? You are in fact doing the greatest seva to God, the greatest service to God. Because no seva that anybody can ever do would ever befit him. Even if a person is able to lift a mountain, how is that going to be of any use to God? If I offer the most beautiful garland, the flowers were after all created by him. Nothing that I can ever do truly would match his grace, his love, his kripa. The idea of serving God is not because God expects that from us, but it's for us to do it, to connect to him as an expression of our love, to develop that humility, that devotion, which would help me to progress. So it's for us, not for him. And you have perfectly understood it. Therefore, this is the greatest seva. In our lives, most of us go through life itself doing many things without understanding this very simple concept. But you have grasped it perfectly. So you, Amma, are the perfect sevak of God. You have done the greatest service because you are humble. Because you know it yourself that you stand to gain from this and not God. And most importantly, you do not even want anybody to know that it is you who has done this. This is how an ideal sevak should be. A beautiful lesson that Sri Swamiji taught all of us on that day. And I believe that it answers this question perfectly well. Thank you so much. Thank you for your patience.